When I first saw Heartworm on Steam, I loved its aesthetics, so I put it on my comically long wishlist and forgot about it for a long time, until it came out recently. It's a simple and short game with throwbacks to retro survival horror games in its looks, face camera angles, the gameplay, the puzzles. It has item boxes and all the components you can think of. Most of the enjoyment from the game is from its looks, aesthetics, vibe, and of course the music. This video is a retrospective of Heartworm. Even if this isn't the correct use of the word, it's my YouTube channel and I can do what I want with it. I will talk about everything as I encountered it through gameplay and commenting on different aspects of the game as I find it appropriate. But for those who want to know up front, I absolutely love and recommend this game. Again, it is a love letter to the original Silent Hill and Resident Evil trilogies and those type of survival horror games. It's mostly made by one man, with some help he got later on in development, and there's also a really cool cameo from a YouTuber named the Sphere Hunter. The story follows Sam, who is unable to move on from the death of her beloved grandfather, and then she falls down an internet rabbit hole, chasing the promise of reuniting with the dead in some sort of a supernatural abandoned house. Here I will say that the entire story is very on the nose and not very deep, like something you would expect from a Silent Hill game. And likewise, the gameplay isn't as interesting, in-depth or tense as a Resident Evil game. Anyway, let's take a look at the Heartworm retrospective. The first thing we see when we click New Game is a little menu. You can change between graphics, or you can change between modern and retro graphic styles. Personally chose modern because the pixelation is a bit too jittery for my liking. There is movement controls where you can choose between modern and tank. Because the game has fixed camera angles, I would recommend sticking only to tank controls. The biggest interesting thing here is the aiming, where you have the modern over-the-shoulder aiming and the classic aiming style. There is also another option accessible in-game which allows you to skip door animations, but I turned that off because it's annoying to me. Only to find out there's a lot of cutscenes later on that are hidden in those animations.
Hey, sorry you haven't heard from me in a while.
The game begins, and already you see the game's biggest strength, its visual style. Beautifully detailed, pixelated environments and 3D graphics that feed off of your nostalgia, even if you don't have it thanks to the phenomenon of borrowed nostalgia. All the while, Sam writes a letter to a loved one, letting them know where she's going and why she's going. Of course, she doesn't forget to bring her film camera, one of the main selling points of this game, and is on her way. This was one of the biggest drawing points for me as well, because, I dabbled into photography. I have my own film camera, of course. So the idea of replacing your average pistol or something with a camera was very interesting to me, because I assumed it would have some more interesting gameplay mechanics, like capturing a ghost or something. People compare this game to Fatal Frame because of this reason, but it's really not the same, because the camera is really simply just a reskinned gun.
By the time you read this, I'll already be there. I just wanted to let you know, in case I don't come back. That way you won't be wondering where I've gone. Either way, you don't have to worry about me anymore. I'm sorry, but I don't have any other choice. I just can't keep going on not knowing.
The game finally begins, and we finally take control of Sam, and of course take the aforementioned camera and some film. Sticking to the game's retro theme, the whole inventory is made to look like you're looking at screenshots of the game, and then there's an overlay of the CRT TV. I quite like this, it really adds to the whole retro experience of the game. When opening the inventory for the first time, you will also notice the cigarettes and the lighter. They don't serve any purpose in the game outside of one puzzle each, and the cigarettes aren't actually part of a puzzle, they just unlock one of the costumes. In the back of the car is where you can choose from costumes you can have through the game. They are all locked to be unlocked in your first playthrough. I'm showing you all the costumes because I went in the 100% at this game because it didn't take any time at all. My personal favorite is the Tapekeeper one. And then we're on our way to the abandoned house. Here another subplot or themes of the game is revealed, which is Sam's fear of dying. And also you can see the beautiful camera angles which are very far away. Again, props to the cinematography of this game. They clearly spent a lot of time on it. Of course, it being a survival horror game, it's not complete without story or a subplot being conveyed with notes being spread all over the game. The first location of the abandoned house follows previous owner and his wife Rose. To sum the story up, his wife was battling with Alzheimer's. It's things like this that I won't go in depth on, because I think you should play the game yourself. It's a very sad and touching story. Entering the house, we secure our first Steam achievement, and we are confronted with darkness. Now, Sam didn't bring a flashlight, so her only source of light is in the flash on her camera. It's a very unique way of lighting because the flash actually stays for a few seconds afterwards. Here my imagination went kind of wild with what this game had in store, with the interesting puzzles, gameplay mechanics, maybe some enemies only move when you flash, but you can't see anything, so you have to flash, for example. But unfortunately there's no such thing in this game, it's only used as a tool to light your way.
An ice cream milkshake, BRB.
After exploring the house for a bit, we go into a room and we are given another tutorial about healing ourselves. It uses two items we combine into a medikit, but we can also use them. Nothing wrong with this mechanic, it is used in pretty much every single survival horror game. Eventually, after being lost in this house, I had to open my map. It has a really cool system. Unexplored areas have a lot of static.
There are no jobs. Then there are some jobs. No Battlefield 6, but then there's Battlefield 6, and there is no progress.
It's very clearly marked how rooms are connected with each other. Unfortunately, there's a bug where the static appears where it shouldn't. With this note, we start finding very hidden and very obscure clues about puzzles. Which eventually lead us into an archive room. Where we get a key and a hint for the basement. Here we find the other piece of the key. And in another room in the house, there is another attic key. So we go to the attic.
The air feels colder all of a sudden. Something has changed. If I go through this door, I may not come back.
Unfortunately, after being lost in the void, the door is unlocked, so I go and grab some help. After a chase scene, Sam gets pulled into a TV by living static. And then we find ourselves in the game's central hub area called the Archive. After following the only possible path, we destroy some static, and then I find myself in the game's first major location. In the cutscene we're also introduced to how combat works and our first real enemy. This enemy isn't really much of a threat. The only thing it can really do to you is use a projectile which slows you down, and then it's almost a guaranteed hit. In Resident Evil terms, this is basically our own zombie. Later on, we find out this neighborhood is where Sam lives. We also go into her room. In her room, we can also play chess to earn the game's one and only weapon upgrade, which gives us a 3-shot burst on the camera. I finished the first playthrough without this because I didn't bother playing chess, even though the actual puzzle takes only one move to complete. Side note, please, developers, don't make us play pianos and play chess. It is very annoying. The main objective of this entire zone is to find 3 different candles and light them. One is hidden in a baseball field, one is hidden in an apartment building, and one is hidden in a flooded house. A house that belonged to one of Sam's friends. In some shots we can notice a giant spider in the background. This is subtle foreshadowing, of course. In this area we can also find the game's one and only inventory space upgrade. There are also 3 different pictures scattered around the entire game, clouded by the static we saw earlier. We got a different ending depending on how many we pick up. Here I also want to talk about the game's save room. It's not much to say, it's very cozy, love the music.
This doesn't make any sense. Is this the same room as in that house?
Oh, and this game's save points are actually just PCs. Anyway, after we're done with this whole area, we can finally go into the funeral home and get transported into the less minor area of this major area. We go into the city.
I've been racking my brain, trying to figure out why this city feels familiar. I think we may have come here when I was a kid, my whole family. Probably one of the last times we ever did something all together. The memory's so foggy. I think we came to visit distant family. I remember playing in a warehouse and getting...
There isn't really much here outside of going into a warehouse, escaping from some shadow man, picking up a crowbar, and then going into a bus. As luck would have it, the subtle foreshadowing spider is here to hunt Sam. And here we begin the game's first boss fight. It was quite easy, it gives us a lot of resources, but I will say I'm a little bit disappointed with the whole boss design, because I would prefer there to be some kind of monsters instead of just giant spiders. I think it's very cliché. But then again, what about this game isn't, right? After dodging the spider's small babies and killing the spider, we are given a page which transports us back into the archive. We put the page into the book and are transported into the game's second large open area.
My grandfather used to take me hiking here as a kid. I kept coming on my own after he passed. It was a grounding experience, something to get me out of my own head. My memories here are good, for the most part, but I stopped hiking here after some bad ones.
Welcome to the wilderness, my favorite area of the whole game. As you noticed, you should probably restart the game before you go in here, because the trees are not loaded in if you play in one sitting. The main objective of this area is to activate switches scattered all around and hidden all around, Those switches will help you activate one half of the major puzzle, which is activating the giant heart stuck in a tree. One of the minor puzzles has you looking out for star symbols scattered across the map, remembering them, and then punching them in for a blood pack. Which you use on a deer, and then deposit into an altar for the second half of the major puzzle. This area also introduces us to two new enemies. One is this moss wolf, who are fast, but also they tend to run around a lot, so are hard to hit. And the other one are these stone statues that use rock-based attacks, and even have a special one where if you get too close, they will summon a little rock arena, forcing you to kill them. Finding all the buttons has you doing some other puzzles, like this one where you move boxes to reach it. One puzzle makes you play the piano, which opens up a cave entrance, and then this cave entrance has a switch, and then deeper into it there are some bolt cutters which you need to access this generator where one last button is, and then this button activates the generator, which gets the blood flowing. Also, take a mental note of this array of lights and buttons. Well, with that done and the tree activated, we go back. Take its crank. Use the crank. Go deeper into yet another cave. In this cave, we can use the array of buttons and lights from earlier to access a somewhat hidden area, allowing us to pick up a second photo for one of the endings. Next up, it's simply left to save your game, and then on to the next segment. Welcome to this new thing I'm trying. It's called the editing tutorial segment, because why not? Today I'm going to show you how to do the 3D image effect from start of the video. It is made out of 4 big parts. The first one being an effect called basic 3D, one effect called offset, one called Gaussian blur, one called lens distortion. What basic 3D does, it's very simple. You can just play around with it what you want. If you want to animate, simply use the stopwatch section. Use offset to reposition your image. Note that offset is different than motion. I then like to use the Gaussian blur and its mask to bring focus to what part of the image I would like you to see, because it is simply cleaner. Less is more, because if you have too much of it, it simply looks weird. Also, don't forget to feather the Gaussian blur. The lens distortion, I do it in a barrel type, which is this way. The other way is called pincushion type, as a fun fact. And then another thing I like to add is I go under the lumetri color section and go to vignetting and add a black vignette. If you want to go a step further, you can distort the whole image and then mask it onto a monitor like I did in the video, because I thought it fit the theme of the game. On top of that, you can add some sort of overlay. I had this thing downloaded called the VHS scroll, and all you do is you go under opacity, and click the opacity type and change the blending type to screen. Use some sort of an LCD overlay like this, and this is it basically. Now back to the game. This is the game's second major boss called the deer. It's much more interesting to me than the spider, but it's still like a bit of a weird deer. But you know, I like it. In the fight, the deer actually runs away from you, and you need to go find him. He's hiding in the bushes, so you need to get a jump on him before he jumps on you. You just repeat this a few times until the fight ends. Once the fight ends, we once again get a page and are transported back into the archive. This is the clock tower, the game's last zone and also the biggest zone. It's also the most visually varied, that has the most puzzles, the most complex. The outside is very grand and very non-inviting, perfect for a horror game setting of this type. The inside very much reminiscent of mansions of Resident Evil 1, perhaps. It even has a otherworldly type of section like you would see in Silent Hill. The main objective of this zone is to go to 4 different parts of this map, which are very different in its visuals. There's a library, there's a film developing lab, because of course there is, and our goal is to collect 4 different types of artifacts and bring them to the middle so that we can unlock the final floor. One puzzle has us exploring the map for art rooms with statues and paintings, and then looking for a keyword and remembering it. There's 4 keywords you need, and then you go to this plaque, you select the correct keywords, you get a key, and then this key allows you to enter into one of the sub-zones. I won't go in depth into a lot of the puzzles, and I am intentionally editing this in a way that it either obscures or makes it not very obvious to what the solution to the puzzles are, because again, please play this game. It's very good. Anyway, now I want to talk about the new enemy that's in this zone. There's actually 2 new enemies. One of them is this headless crawling thing that goes on walls, and it basically ambushes you. Not much to say really. They stalk you from the above, and that's it. The other one is actually a mannequin. They're unkillable, but you can stun them. The mannequins have these sections which are as close to as horror sections as you can get in this game, but still it's not very scary. Anyway, about these subsections, the hospital area has you looking for keywords, and then you assign these keywords to the rooms in the correct order, unlocking the path forward, getting the artifact of the crucifix. The school. You go through the school, one of the sections has you going into a classroom where you have to say yes like 7 times, but it's cool because the room actually changes around you. The area of the mansion has you looking at 12 different clocks, remembering the order and the word to it. And then you need to do this fuck-ass puzzle, which, oh my god. This is probably the hardest puzzle in terms of how long it takes. My god, I hate these things. Also, side note, in this house, this is where you place cigarettes to unlock one of the costumes. This area is probably actually a funeral home of some sorts, because the artifact is the eulogy. By the way, I left out so much in this area to again try to convince you to play this game. If you somehow haven't yet, please go play this game. It's very much worth it. I've actually been doing this through the whole game. I left out many things, many puzzles, many little details, many areas I didn't even show once. Okay, now for the next part, which is the office or the job area, because of course with all the things going on in Sam's life, she was also abused at work. Reaching this area actually has us going through a subway reminiscent of Silent Hill 3. You can probably draw some conclusions here on why there are so many mannequins, and when one of them attacks her, it has mostly to do with anxiety, probably. Here we need to distribute these letters to the correct color of the rooms, while we are constantly attacked by unkillable mannequins with a lot of anxiety-inducing music playing, and of course the intercom person constantly telling Sam how bad she is at this. It's probably the most anxiety-inducing part, for better or for worse. Through both the gameplay, the story, and the way the music is done, it's very well done for this. It's very well done, and it's very obvious to me that this was the intention, giving us one last artifact of the personal ID. And then this unlocks the top floor of the clock tower.
This must be the end of all of this. There's nowhere left to go now that I'm here. This is it. Just like the others, I came here trying to find out what comes next, what's after. I was so focused on getting here, on getting out of here, on being somewhere else, doing the same thing I've always done, even before all of this. All that time spent fearing the end I was actively searching for, but never paying attention to what was happening as it was happening. Was I wasting my time? Not because how I spent it was meaningless, but because I refused to experience life as it was passing by? These are my thoughts from the time I was able to form my first words. Half of this doesn't make any sense. My childish thoughts are all jumbled and mostly nonsense. I can tell when I started to.
So this is it. This is the last page
I was so
and the
sad,
last key.
frustrated.
This key will unlock the last door into the last
I
boss.
felt like the world
Before we go
betrayed
there,
me.
there is this little machine where we use all 3 photos we found. By the way, I only showed you 2 of them. One of them is ready to find. It's very easy, just keep a lookout. If you deposit 0, you get 1 ending. If you deposit 1 or 2, you get another ending. And if you deposit all 3 of them, you get a special ending. The last boss, to me, visually, is very cool. It's complicated. Reminds me sort of like those cultists you would think of in some Lovecraftian thing, but instead of tentacles, it's actually film. I just thought it was really neat. But goddamn, I was so disappointed with how the gameplay actually works here. Because eventually you just figure out that you can stand in this one area and you will never get hit, and then you just move up and down a bit to dodge the very obvious attacks, and then you light the lanterns and repeat this. This genuinely takes like 20 minutes with the cutscenes in. It turns out that this gatekeeper, voiced by the Street Hunter, is actually the one person that was leaving all these journal entries around the whole game. I haven't talked about it because I want you to read it yourself. It's a very interesting story that follows this character, and in this good ending, they both leave this afterlife thing and just go back to their normal lives.
So when you beat me, I fled. But this place,
but in another ending, Sam stays here and becomes a gatekeeper herself. I dumbed these endings down as much as I could. I don't want to talk about any details here, even though it's supposed to be a retrospective. I don't want to go into any detail. I didn't talk about one of the 3 endings. Nothing really makes sense here because me saying that they leave isn't really even like a third of the whole story of the ending. Because again, please experience the story for yourself. It's short, it's simple, it's not complex. I think it's a very nice experience to go through. But I will still point out I wish that I did more with the camera mechanics, that there was more camera modes, there was more enemies, that they would do something with the flash mechanic, that they would go dip into the horror a bit more. But I will once again commend them on the environmental design, the puzzle design, the graphics, the cinematography. I left this game very satisfied with what I got, especially for this price. But then again, you do have to like these older survival horror games with fixed camera angles and tank control. But yes, my conclusions from this, I gotta say, I did not expect to actually like this game as much as I did, but even though, as I said in the start of the video, it's all about the vibes and the aesthetics and the music. And you know, I'm part of those dumbasses that likes to I was editing this stuff while wearing flannel, okay? I'm one of them. I usually criticize games for this, but in the end of the day, my only real criticism for this is I wish there was more of it. So, you know, I think that's a good thing. Again, I really ignored talking about the story for this, because it's just more interesting to just go and experience it yourself. But don't let this deter you from playing the game yourself, please. It's very good. Anyway, I think I will end it here. Thank you for watching. This took some time to make, but not that long. Please leave any questions, suggestions in the comments. That's pretty much it, man. I don't know what else to do. Goodbye.